Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly. Hello and welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week, our team discusses news and events from this past week, covering Mexico-based promotions like AAA, CMLL, and Top Independence, along with luchador-related news from WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, Impact Wrestling, and more. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast and others from the Lucha Central Podcast Network are available on luchacentral.com and all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbay, and Speaker. I'm Miranda Morales, one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. And I said team earlier. No, I do not do this alone. I have two fantastic co-hosts. First, we are going to be bringing in the dashing one, Dusty Murphy. Dusty, how's it going today?
It's going excellent, Miranda. How's it going for you?
It is doing pretty darn good. I've stayed inside all day. It has been 105 degrees where I'm at.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just
It was like
chilling.
80 here.
Now, rub it in my face. And someone who also has some fantastic weather is who? Who am I talking about? Who? It is Brendan Barr. Brendan, how's it going?
Oh, not bad. It's been gray and rainy today, but I'm taking that. But Miranda, the weather would look pretty good when you were in Minnesota last weekend. So maybe you want to.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Yes.
Oh man, yes, I did do some traveling up to Minnesota to ring announce, which was my first time there. In Minnesota and ring announcing since March. So it was lovely. It was truly lovely.
It looked like you were having a good time. Maybe you want to let people know where they can see that?
Yes. So I was announcing for Kickstart My Heart Wrestling, based out of Minneapolis, and they had a show, What the Doctor Ordered, that was at the Dual Citizen Brewing company in St. Paul. So you can check them out on social media at Kickstart My Heart Wrestling and on YouTube. We did stream the event on YouTube. So go check out Kickstart My Heart Wrestling on YouTube, where you'll be able to find the video there. Thank you to those who did watch and those who did attend in person. Each week we talk about the road back to shows, and it wasn't until then that it just really hit home. So a big shout out to all of the wrestlers who were part of that event. Many of them in the same situation, haven't been wrestling since mid to early March.
Wow.
Very cool. Yeah, well, congratulations to you on getting out there and getting back to work on that. That's great. Since we're talking about it, I'm going to mention my friend and Pacific Northwest wrestler Kikyo was also on that card. So glad to see you at work,
Yes.
Yeah,
And a big
awesome.
shout out to Kikyo. She is a fantastic person and a badass wrestler.
Absolutely.
She is one to be afraid of. She is very intimidating, but just a fantastic wrestler. And everyone on the card was great. So yes, check it out. Kickstart My Heart Wrestling on social media and YouTube.
Excellent.
Yes. So, Brennan, we're talking about, a show that did happen in the U.S., and I did a little plug for the road back to shows, and that's how we like to start off each week, is talking about, the road back to Lucha Libre specifically, and I know you have some updates on what is happening in Mexico.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with the usual place, commenting that Mexico City is still orange, and as we've established over past weeks, that would mean no Lucha Libre is supposed to be happening.
Boo.
Well, as you might be able to guess by the dramatic pause, that's not what's going on. So there was another event. There's been a series of events where Phantasma has appeared in various areas. He usually is giving out food that has been donated to the government, to wrestlers and other people that are involved in making wrestling happen, and they do it as kind of a big publicity event. And he was at one of these in the principality of Miguel Hidalgo, and while he was there, the mayor made a statement on that too. So I'm going to read this out, and we'll go from there, because this was the beginning of kind of a large spiral. The mayor's office has a system of sports and music shows. We are going to do virtual fights. They're going to start this weekend. Let people connect. Put on a ring with all the care. We are going to ask the Ministry of Health to give us some protocols so that it is done virtually, and that the fighters who are going to do this show earn a few pence. It's about learning to live with the bug, with the COVID-19. It is the commitment that I make with the Mexico City Commission. So right there, he just basically told everybody in the middle of a press conference that we're going to get a show that's going to go out over the internet this weekend. At the same time, Mexico City is still orange. So there's going to be some give and take on that. And that's what's going on right now, is stories that happen like this. I mean, this is coming from a public figure who's announcing it on the news. So people are getting excited about it. And now there's rumors going around like there's going to be a grand anniversary show with like all these legends at it, including mask versus hair matches and all these other things. And sorting through all of the rumors versus truths has been very hard. I do want to point out, I've got this in my notes too, that Phantasma did give soft support, saying that luchadors do need to get a way to get back to work. He made some reference to illegal shows that have been happening, using some phrasing of non-clandestine. However, he still also continues to remind people that Mexico City is orange and not permitted to hold a show. So that's facts of it. And again, trying to go through all of that and figure out what's going on. So there is talk of CMLL having a show as a result of this and having something being filmed at Arena Mexico. There's talk of AAA doing something with this and filming in one of their studio locations. And of course, there's, various rumors popping up that it'll be a super show with both of them at one location. I think even listeners of this show from just one time will know that seems highly unlikely. So that is where we're at. We have Mexico City being orange, but we have a mayor of one of the principalities. I believe it's 18 is the number.
That sounds right.
Saying that we're going to have a show this weekend. And then I just spent all day trying to chase down rumors on this. So this is what I've got on that. Have you heard it? It sounds like you've heard a little on this, Dusty. Do you have any?
I had heard yesterday, I guess, that Phantasma said that he didn't know the mayor was going to announce that, and he had specifically told the mayor he wasn't going to allow any Lucha Libre shows, and that it was on camera on the spot, and he just kind of had to smile and nod, and that, he would love to see shows happen again, but it was based on health measures, and he didn't see it happening. So
yeah, he very much was. Fortunately, he was wearing his mask, so he didn't really have to smile. He just had to nod.
He's probably nodding, saying, "Qué jodienda es esto? What in the world is this?"
So that is a very fantastic statement that's happening, and we will definitely have information for you one way or another on next week's show. So definitely Indie Roundup next week is going to be very interesting. Also, much less interesting and exciting, but still very exciting, is Lucha Time has been making big moves. Last week I did note that they had a live event that was going up. They are now saying that they're going to have regularly scheduled press conference style events. I believe that's going to be on Wednesdays moving forward. Then the first thing that they did this week for that sort of thing was they officially announced the a partnership with DTU. So there is going to be a little bit of a talent exchange at the DTU Cantina Extrema, which is slated for August 30th. So very exciting stuff. I will have a little more on DTU's Facebook show offering soon. I have been trying to chase down more leads on this. I have a person that I believe we will be talking to either over email or possibly appearing on the show to give us more info as Lucha Time moves forward. So that means we will have coverage of Lucha Time here on this show, which to the best of my knowledge is not happening in a lot of other places. So if you are looking for info on Lucha that's happening and not about Lucha that's about to happen when mayors make things happen, this will be the time to do that. As we are moving forward in this month, this is the month that's traditionally Triple Mania, and AAA has announced that as part of the celebrations, normally they have a big gathering of fans that they do. This year that's going to be a virtual gathering. So next Friday, which would be a week from when you're hearing this show, if you're hearing it on the first day it goes up, they will have their online mass. I don't have any details on what kind of client they're going to use, but they're going to probably have a giant Zoom call because everybody loves Zoom, and all the dogs will be in it too.
Yes. A Zoom para los perritos. Sign me up. If you just tell me it's just a Zoom full of dogs, that's it.
I'm actually there for that.
Yeah, I'm there for that.
Just have all the luchadors put their dogs on the Zoom for about 15 minutes. I will watch that. Actually, if you put it behind a paywall, I'll probably pay to watch it.
I pay you. Ditto.
And then I have a match Gali from the Midwest of the United States has announced an internet-only show on 8/15. So that is our road to shows at the moment.
Nice. All right. Well, we do have some news for the Indie Roundup. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Then let's play that song.
That just gets me every time. I love it.
Yeah, I'll just need a moment to bask in that song and then get it to the groove.
So we don't have a lot, but as I alluded to in the Road to Shows, the Lucha Time did have an event. I went through and watched it because it's still up on their Facebook page. It was a 1-hour event. We got 4 matches and a couple of interview spots, which really I feel like is the sweet spot for wrestling. Like I love these 2-hour shows we get here in America. I sort of like the third hour that happens on Raw, but these 1-hour shows are really very succinct. You usually get like some really good matches, a nice build of energy, and then a good main event out of it. And that's kind of how I feel this went. So we had a tag team match. No, I'm sorry. We had a 3-way. I'm misreading my own notes. To start off, we had Azrael versus Saizo versus Principe de Oro. And then Azrael got the win on that. It was fast paced. A lot of the time there were only 2 people in the ring for any number of reasons, which I felt worked well. Good way to get the show off on a good foot. Then we went to Baby Extreme versus the Tiger. And this was another fast pace. These both looked like they were very young wrestlers. Like Baby Extreme and Tiger did not look like they would be old enough for me to buy them an adult beverage here in the States. But I could be wrong about Tiger. It's hard to tell with the mask. But they lots of youthful energy and very, very good setup for a match. So even though Baby Extreme won, Tiger had a mic spot afterwards, and I didn't have enough time today to try and piece together words that he said, but it sounded like he was kind of trying to rally fans up and say, something to the effect of, I may have lost today, but I still want to go forward. So hopefully that's what it was. I'll check back in if I was totally wrong.
Yeah, it sounds perfect. I understand. Yeah, no, I totally get that. There was so much news going on in the last couple of days that the time that I had set aside to watch the show really but I was not very focused when I got to watch it. Then we had Chavez Boy, Alex Black, and Redimido versus Mafioso, Granada, and Bombo in a 6-person match. This was great. It was a good build up to the last one. To me, it was pretty obvious that Mafioso, Granada, and Bombo were probably going to win. They had a spectacular entrance with basically B-roll footage from mob movies, people being blown up, and all that kind of. So there was a little more production value, which tells me those were the guys to pay attention to, and they did win, and he did say something to the effect of we're big winners at the end of the match. And now we got to our main event, which I was excited from the get-go on this because they kind of set the table pretty well. Even without knowing a lot of Spanish, I had a pretty good idea what one of these teams was all about. So we had Hijo del Enfermo, Hijo del Espectro, Galeno del Mal, and they were being escorted to ring by Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. So this was a group of young second and third generation wrestlers who were coming from pretty big legacies. And they clearly had a nice little chip on their shoulder about that. And I thought that is exciting storytelling to me from a perspective. Yeah, I enjoy that.
And the opposition for that was The Mummy, Sinestro, and Vertigo, which these are all names that were released in that press release we covered a couple of weeks ago. So these definitely people that they're wanting to put together as the building blocks for what they want to do in this period of time. I forgot to mention a very important feature that I liked. The show had a name, which was La Nueva Era. So the show really kind of exemplified that for me, where this is a new era of people in this main event that is hopefully going to carry this company forward, and I'm excited by the prospects of that. As you might guess from having a couple members of the Wagner legacy in the match, this was more of a brawl than it was a technical spectacular. They started fast, they started brawling, and then topes and dives broke out, like you see in a lot of So it was a fun match. When the Mummy was getting set to do something very exciting, looking from the top rope, Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr. ran up to the ring and shoved him off of the top rope. So that was the end of the match from that perspective. The brawl went on for a good little while there. And then another luchador who, unfortunately, because I don't know all of the indie luchadors and he didn't get a graphic, so I don't know who it was, came out to kind of even the odds, and then they did a mic spot to end the show. But it was, all in all, it was a good little show. They had it looked like it was probably a warehouse spot that they had padded up and put some layers of protection for the COVID stuff in there. There wasn't a lot of people, but it was very clearly designed for keeping the show kind of isolated, because you could really only see the ring area and a few people scattered around the ring side, and not like it wasn't designed for an audience. It wasn't like Arena Mexico where you'd have a giant ring in the middle of tons of seats. It was just a small space that a ring really fit in nicely. It's for 1 hour, and this was free because it's on Facebook. This was a fun show. Definitely worth checking out. The press release they gave us a couple of weeks ago says they want to do shows on a regular basis. So I'm guessing that by the time this show goes up, they'll have another 1 hour card up on Facebook. So do check them out. And then in other news in the indie areas, Mas Lucha's streaming service has announced they're going to have a little more content. They have a recent, I have to slow this one down, Chinampa Luchas event. Chinampa Luchas had an event a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to put that on the whole event on the stream. And then they also announced a thing called El Rey del Norte, but I don't know what that means or who would be hosting. I mean, I know what that means. My Spanish isn't that bad, but I don't know I don't know what that would entail. I mean, there is we talked about before. There's a region in the wrestling that is known as the North, so I would assume it would be wrestlers from that region. But that's just me speculating. And I had no idea who would be hosting that, but Mas Lucha is planning on streaming it when it goes up. So that's what I've got for the Indie Roundup right now, although it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that is very cool. That worked, at least that there's still, of course, with Lucha Time, looking to have some more content out there, and the Mas Lucha streaming service as well. It's still very new, but the fact that they seem to have some plans of additional content to put up is good news for Lucha Libre fans who are missing out on some newer content.
Oh, yes. And, I mean, Lord only knows how much more stuff will pop up if everybody gets new guidelines on things that they can do, thanks to that other statement we were talking about just a little bit ago from the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
That still blows me away.
Yes.
Next week, the beginning of the show is going to be exciting, folks. I'm telling you.
Definitely.
We will see, yes. Well, thank you, Brendan, for both the road back to shows and our Indie Roundup. Now, we're going to kick it off to Denise Salcedo with this week's Lucha Central.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch your favorite shows each week, or when to try a new one. We've got a brand new video series kicking off this Sunday as photographer Jerry Villagrana debuts Photo Versus exclusively on the Lucha Central Facebook page. On each episode, Jerry and a fellow photographer go mano a mano, comparing and sharing stories behind some of their most memorable photos. This week, Jerry welcomed Josh Garcia of Rudo's Photo as they explored shots of Rey Mysterio. And this coming Sunday, Black Terry Jr. joins the show, and he and Jerry share photos of their favorite lucha dives. Don't miss the show. Sundays at 7 p.m. Pacific,
10 p.m. Eastern, only at facebook.com/luchacentral. Monday, it's an elite episode of Business of the Business as Kevin welcomes the man behind the new AEW action figure line, Jeremy Hadauer, to the show to talk about writing letters to 1,000 famous people as a kid, getting into the toy business, creating the Jack WWF Classic line, his recent record-breaking Pokemon card purchase, and, of course, the launch of AEW Figures and Collectibles line. On Tuesday, Mass and Mayhem gets a visit from El Inframundo when AAA and Lucha Underground star Drago stops by. Plus, the gang chops it up about the possibility of Mil Muertes in AEW, former Lucha Underground stars that are making waves, new additions to the Walls of Fame and Shame, and much more. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. This Tuesday night, live on WrestleBossLive.com, Bobby Chulo is back with Lucha Underground and Lucha Vavoom's Mariachi Loco and the Crash Lucha Libre's Mecha Wolf. Call in live to ask questions Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Find the video version on Facebook Wednesday through Friday, and then Saturdays download the audio version in podcast form. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez. This week, Los Angeles Misterioso pulls up to talk shop about his start in Lucha Libre, controversy surrounding the Misterioso name, and his rise to the independent scene, including international trips to Mexico, China, and Japan for Dragon Gate, plus working for New Japan here in the U.S. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. This week, both shows take a look back at Gran Metalik's biggest WWE match to date as he took on AJ Styles last Friday night on SmackDown. Plus, Lucha Time's latest news, including their alliance with DTU. Catch up on the top stories of the entire week in Lucha Libre in just 90 minutes. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms. And please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Thank you once again to Denise Salcedo, who always brings us this week in Lucha Central. So now, look, she even told us what we were going to talk about. She is good to predict the future. Because
she perfectly segged into it.
She perfectly did it. If anything,
segue queen for the week.
Yes. I just messed it up, but I do want to give that credit to Denise Salcedo because Desi's going to be talking to us right now on This Week in WWE, starting off with Friday Night SmackDown and Gran Metalik versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, we had a straightforward match after so much speculation on how it would all play out this past Friday, 31st. Yeah, on SmackDown. I was expecting Matt Riddle or somebody, you know what I mean? Because he kind of had the AJ feud, you know, and he's got long enough hair that I thought, you know, he might. But no, I mean, we got a straightforward match, and we actually got a great match. It was almost everything you would expect it to be, unless you expected Gran Metalik to win. I mean, aside from the...
Yeah, that's really too much to ask.
Apparently
it is. That foresight, you know, of knowing who was going to win, this is actually a real showcase for Gran Metalik. He had multiple spots to show off his abilities, and AJ won with the calf crusher, which is a really rare finish for him now. He's only used it twice in the last year and a half, both on luchadors. He used it on Humberto in the gauntlet match on Raw back in April, and that was the last time he'd used it. And it'd been like a year before that. So,
as long
like
as he
15,
doesn't start calling
months.
that the Lucha Crusher, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Well, man, now we got to see it. I think 3 definitely makes it a pattern.
Well,
so if he faces another luchador.
after the match, he put Lindsay in the Styles Clash and, you know, dropped the finisher on him. So it kind of sets something up maybe with Lindsay for the future. So we'll see. I mean,
he had to go full heel and establish that dominance. But, I hope that's what that does.
Oh, me too, especially with our build to SummerSlam coming. Yeah, and speaking of our build to SummerSlam, this past Monday the 3rd, we had some continuance of the Andrade, Angel, and Zelina story. We had a moment where Angel was giving a rose to Demi Burnett from The Bachelor. I'm not sure if this is leading to something or if it was just a cute spot because he gives the rose and the tie-in to The Bachelor. And there's even a deeper layer with the fact that he had kind of been on a version of The Bachelor and Mexico, so I don't know if that was alluding to anything or if it was just a celebrity that happened to be nearby. But after that, we had 2 singles matches against the Street Profits, starting with Angel Garza picking up a win against Angelo Dawkins due to a poisoning angle, and Dawkins being distracted by Montez, who was not well. And Montez Ford and Andrade start their match, but during the finish, Montez passed out due to the poisoning, and the match was declared a no contest, and the ref called for medics. So afterwards, there's a backstage interview outside the medics' office with Zelina's faction and Charlie Caruso, and Montez comes out, tells Charlie, that he was poisoned. Then his wife, the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair, she comes out and she demands an apology from Zelina. And both Zelina and, of course, there was no apology coming. Both Zelina and Bianca had to be held back from each other, leading to a fight that we can only assume is coming fast. And part of the SummerSlam build, maybe like a trios match or a mixed gender trios match.
So man. I hope that we get that. WWE is very shy of that kind of match. But, yeah, that'd be good.
Oh, it'd be so exciting. And also on Raw, Dominik Mysterio was back. During a promo from Seth, after Seth got done kind of antagonizing Tom Phillips and Samoa Joe at the table, Dominik attacked Seth with the kendo stick, and he ended up getting a match with Seth for SummerSlam. His first singles match, and he's facing Grand Slam champion Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. I don't know anybody that's gotten that kind of first match. No. I mean, that is a huge, huge deal. And I think that we haven't heard a whole lot more about Rey Mysterio's contract lately, but I think this is what seals the deal.
I mean, he's got, if we don't hear an announcement as part of the hype for SummerSlam that Rey has re-signed, I will be shocked.
Yeah, I will be too at this point.
I mean, I said it when we're talking about this earlier, but Dominik has a pedigree. He's a 3rd-generation wrestler who has been around wrestling probably his entire life. With legitimate legends in the sport that probably just casually hang out in his living room. But even still, to get a SummerSlam match as your premier match is
and with Seth Rollins of all people, one of the most decorated current wrestlers in WWE. Like, there's really nobody. I mean, aside from maybe a title match, which I just don't see happening for anybody. That's about the biggest match you could get at SummerSlam.
Now, I have a question for both of you. Would we be getting this match if we weren't in the current situation that we're in with empty arenas? And I say that because when you think of SummerSlam, it usually will have kind of the funner matches of the year. It's the party of the summer and all of that. Yeah, it's like a party. So it doesn't sound too out of the ordinary for this to happen, but do you think that if circumstances were different, we'd be seeing Seth in a different match, or maybe the fact that it would be maybe a tag or something where it wouldn't necessarily be just one-on-one with him and Dominik?
I do. I think it would almost certainly be a tag match if this was in front of a large crowd.
I definitely no, that's fine. I agree with you on that. I think it would be a very different match. So traditionally, SummerSlam is one of the places where you'll get kind of a celebrity appearance. I feel like that he is taking the place of a celebrity in a situation where he's taking that match that you would get, which would have kind of more of a lighter, fun-hearted sort of thing, and they're putting this darker, more serious angle on it by having him do that. But that's kind of what it feels like. And to what Dusty was saying and what you were asking, it probably if this were a SummerSlam in front of fans, it probably would be a tag team match so that he can, and you'd know he'd win, right? You would know he'd win at that point because you want that feel good moment. But because they don't have to work in front of the crowd, there's a traditional.
Well, then they're able to tape multiple takes. You know, like anything that doesn't work, they can redo, and so. I mean, like, this is kind of the perfect opportunity for somebody like Dominik, who's never, wrestled in front of a huge crowd, to kind of hone his skills. He's getting the kind of performance center experience without having to be in NXT.
Yeah. I feel like that's that is creating a much bigger question on what's going to happen with the match. He's getting this match, but because there's no traditional fans, and to the other points you're kind of alluding to, and he's kind of we might not see him win. We might see him lose really badly.
Yeah.
And that may be, because you don't have to have the fans that are present having that good feeling coming out of that match right now, and that could be more interesting.
Super true too. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to swing back around and kind of do a tale of two stories on this a little bit. You had Andrade having a match, which was a build to the SummerSlam match, which was all story basically. You had two guys that could really do an amazing match, but the whole match was taken over by the who poisoned the cup. We had a shot with him drinking from a red cup and making a
if you watch during their intro, he takes a sip and he looks at it like something's funky and then kind of shrugs it off. Yeah.
So you had that, and then you go back to SmackDown, where, to your point, you had Grand Metalik, who was given an opportunity to step up and have a full straight match. And which is even more unusual for the Lucha House Party, because they have, generally speaking, been there as enhancement for the last year or so, really. And so I just, looking at the way those two were handled, because you've got AJ, who's heading into, we don't know what he's going to do at SummerSlam, but we know he's going to do something. And now it looks like he might be doing something with one or more members of the Lucha House Party. And we know Andrade is doing something at SummerSlam, but it was all story, and they cut the match short to try and get us more excited for that tag match that's going to happen. So, do you think that with that kind of juxtaposition, that we're going to maybe see the Lucha House Party doing a SummerSlam match with AJ?
Oh, I sure hope so. It seems like WWE's been kind of high on Lince Dorado lately. Lucha House Party's gotten a lot of opportunities. They got to work with Miz and Morrison when Morrison first came back. And so I think that it's, and they've shown up every week, and Vince rewards loyalty. And so I think that it's, fairly likely that they would get to have a SummerSlam spot because of it. But once again, I don't know if it would have happened in front of a crowd. That AJ Styles would have gotten to face somebody like Lince Dorado. And
I can say with absolute certainty that all of the success that the Lucha House Party has been allowed has been because, as to your point, that they are being rewarded for showing up, for having a good attitude and putting on good matches. Absolutely. So they would have a SummerSlam match, but it would probably be on the pre-show.
Like a throwaway tag match.
Yeah.
Or like a 3-way tag match for the titles or something, yeah.
And even if this doesn't lead to something for SummerSlam, I know Payback is happening not that long.
Yeah, like a week after.
So maybe if it doesn't lead to something for SummerSlam, it could be something that they fall back to at Payback. I'm not entirely sure, because right now the Intercontinental title scene, I think is a little all over the place, and not in a bad way, but yeah, they were going with Matt Riddle. Grand Metalik had his chance, and I think it would be great if now this moves on to Lince, but who knows, maybe they now need to a new number one contender, and so
yep.
series of triple threat or 4-way matches or some kind of contendership match to lead to
awesome.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, no, that actually seems more likely to me. I am still optimistic that we get the Lucha House Party, but just based on the way they're building story right now, it seems like since it's so wide open that that may be what they do.
SummerSlam's all about surprise. Maybe that's when we could see Kalisto return.
Oh, man.
Come back, take on AJ. Yeah, to answer for what he did to his buddies. Yeah.
Yep. That would I'm there for that, too. Or to Miranda's point, that could be the payback match, right?
Yeah. That would be even better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
All right.
And then we also had AEW this week with a lot of lucha action. First up on AEW Dark on the 4th, we had a returning Jack Evans who had Angelico in his corner against QT Marshall with Allie, fresh off her own tag team win. I liked the story this match told. There was a spot that people referred to as a botch, but I truly believe as part of the story. The match was pre-taped. They didn't have to leave it in, but these were both guys that had not wrestled in AEW for quite a long time. Jack Evans hadn't wrestled all year at all this year for AEW, and I inferred that they were trying to tell the story of these guys being rusty in the ring, and it was like their match back, and I liked the story. They specifically mentioned that's why it's a high-risk maneuver. It doesn't always pay off. And I thought that was really a cool spot and kind of helped enhance the reality of the moment. And after some logical and very helpful interfering from Angelico, Jack Evans won with a crazy bridged pin. It was nuts. You really have to see it. And they were working heel hard in this match. Like, it was really good. And I highly, highly recommend this match on Dark. It's just exciting to see Jack Evans and Angelico back together again.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was that was my note when we were getting ready for the show, is that he's back with like at least one exclamation point. I don't think I got 6 on this one, but I was super excited that Jack Evans was back. Angelico's been the Twitter presence for the team. And he's been super salty on Twitter about the fact they're not being used. So your inference about that botch spot seems right on. Like, I think that he's going to be they're just going to use that as fuel as to why they need to get more matches and just show that they're the tag team they want to be.
I mean, this was a great match, and we've also got Ivelisse in AEW now, so I hope that we kind of see her and Angelico cross paths at some point, maybe, and some history there, and
that'll be fun.
Matt Cross would be one of my big choices for Cody's Open Challenge, and so maybe they could run out and help. I don't know. There's a lot that could go on there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Potential. And then we also had Aaron Solo and Serpentico versus the Gun Club. This was, you could kind of see it just from the size of the Gun Club. Billy is humongous. Like, it's easy to forget that when you think about New Age Outlaws and Mr. Ass and all that stuff. But Billy is humongous.
Yeah.
And, he just used his size to the advantage in this match. It was a great, Solo and Serpentico had amazing chemistry. They worked together as best they could. They separated Austin Gunn. Billy came back and he tried to get the Famouser, but they, were able to get out of it. But then Austin gave one to Solo, and then Serpentico took the pin. It was kind of a quick match. It only lasted 3 or 4 minutes, but it was a solid match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and
Yeah, it was the second match of the night, so I expected it was going to be quick. But that was sorry, I jumped in early on that. I just go.
No, that's kind of what I was getting ready to say exactly, was that it was earlier in the night, but I thought you might have some information there, some interaction through your press credential. Yeah.
So Serpentico has I'm going to use air quotes around it, won the world championship. He posted a picture of himself with the world championship, said, don't fact check this or anything, but I'm now world champion. So when I asked him for a statement on that, his statement was, Snake Man is the champion. So congratulations, Serpentico, on your win. And this broadcaster is not too ashamed to say, all hail our new snake overlord.
I would be so excited. I mean, and that would be such an amazing moment. And we still don't really know who's underneath the mask. So it could be a world champion caliber.
Is it Sammy Guevara who is now under the mask again, trying to get Serpentico in trouble by claiming he stole the belt?
I think you're onto something with that, because
Sammy. I don't trust him as far as I can go.
Sammy's a devilish little guy when he can get that mask on.
We've established two things that feed this theory very well. We know that Sammy has a Serpentico mask somewhere, and he has access to Chris Jericho's locker room. So if Chris has a spare title lying around that he didn't turn back in, it'd be easy enough for him to take a quick picture like that.
It's interesting. A lot of possibility there too. I'd like to see where the story on that goes. In general, I would like to see a lot of AEW's online content help build story on the show. You know, I wish we had some of these moments on the show to flesh out the storylines and kind of give some depth to the character and the roster and help introduce people.
I feel like they're starting to move that way, because so it's not Lucha, which is why we hadn't really talked about it, but Scorpio Sky had a match, and then he cut a promo saying that he's tired of being looked at as the king of dark, and that no disrespect to anyone in dark, but there's a bigger product out there, and it should be all of us. And then the next night on Dynamite, he had a face-to-face confrontation with Cody as Cody was coming back from a tag team match. So they did set some groundwork for the shows finally starting to cross, which has been everyone here on the show has talked about this off the air, how we feel like there's two different shows with two different identities. So I felt like that was that's why I made a note of it when I saw it. I was going to mention it off the air, but hey, what the heck, we're having fun. But so they're starting to bridge that gap, and I'm more excited for that, because that also means that we're going to get more of Diamante, Serpentico, Lowrider, and Fuego del Sol possibly on both shows.
It'd be so cool. And speaking of Dynamite, this past Wednesday the 5th on Dynamite, we had some tag team action. We actually had a very hot match between Proud and Powerful and Best Friends. Despite all their best efforts, Best Friends still won, but Proud and Powerful weren't done. They still had a lot of anger and hate in their hearts, and even though they thought they had parked Trent's mom's minivan in a safe place, it wasn't safe enough. Santana and Ortiz went out there and trashed it. They smashed out the windows, they beat up all the lights, and they spray painted Sue's name on the hood and X'd it out. And now Trent's mom, Sue, wants an apology on speakerphone. And given how much they're loved by abuelas, how soon until Proud and Powerful abuelas make them apologize?
Like, look, that's a chancletazo right there. Like, the fact the abuelos are gonna come con las chancletas to make them apologize, you know. And you mess with someone's I know in Mexican terminology they call it the coche for bus or van. Puerto Ricans, we call it la guagua. So the fact that they messed with, Stu's Wawa, like that's a line. That's a line that they're crossing very intentionally. Y'all better be careful. Yes, because you don't want the abuelas or the mamás to come after you, because you do not mess with a mom in her car, especially her minivan.
Yeah, right. To your point, that's the center part of the family right there. So that's like attacking the whole family. I did want to point out that there was a nice little detail on there when the minivan was attacked, though, that the Proud and Powerful did take the time to take the wheels and the rims so that they could sell them later.
Well, of course. I mean, at that point, it just is. That's New York
that's
in
beer money.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the 40s. That's where they get their 40s.
That was one of my favorite little just quick interactions with somebody tried to they're like, you could have at least sold the rims, and he's like, we did.
Yeah. They're thorough, okay? It's disrespectful but thorough.
Yeah.
When do you guys think we're going to see the Lucha Bros back on, Dark or Dynamite? It's been a while since we've seen them.
It's been a hot minute, but it may be the Mexico thing. So I don't know what it's like from going to the U.S. to Mexico, but I know that there is a brief quarantine period for people coming to the United States from another country. So if they went back to Mexico, they could be out for a month, more or less, because if
sense.
it's 2 weeks on their side and 2 weeks on our side, that's a month gone right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like all of his recent social media posts have just been older pictures of him, and then different stuff that he's got for sale. So there's no indication from social media of their location, at least.
Yeah. I mean, if they come back, I would like to see them in a proper feud with someone. A little bit longevity, because I do feel like it's been a little bit disconnected for a while. They've been kind of popping in and out. So that would be the one thing for a while. But hopefully when they do come back, it's, for a long-term feud.
You just reminded me. I did make a small note of this. Next week on Dynamite is Tag Team Appreciation Night. So if there is a night for them to show up, that's the one. So hopefully we see them then. That's all. They have not announced the Lucha Brothers on that show yet. They have announced all the regular tag teams so far that you would expect. FTR, the Young Bucks.
I'm just gonna say I hope they appreciate tag teams by actually moving those titles onto an actual tag team.
Yes.
I appreciate you saying it instead of me, because I'm tired of being the only one throwing shade.
Yeah, come at me, IEW. Come at me, Bullet Club fans. Even you have to admit, they don't need the titles. They don't need the titles. Give it to
they still have those tag ropes, but nobody uses them.
FTR uses them.
Yeah,
FTR uses them. They're the only team that consistently uses them. And then a lot of the time, whoever they wrestle will use them. But
that is my number one thing with the tag team, is that it just makes it feel so official when they do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Unless it's a Lucha Rules tag match. The only way I can excuse not using the ropes. If it's Lucha Rules, you don't need the rope. That's fine. But
yeah, Lucha Rules are just different.
But you shouldn't be making tags on Lucha Rules. You should be having people flying out of a ring, and that's how a tag is made.
And that's how it happens.
Right. All right. Go ahead, Miranda.
I was just going to briefly mention that this week the Deadly Draw Women's Tag Tournament did begin. This Monday we had the first two qualifier matches, and we will be covering that in future episodes of Lucha Central Weekly, because we are still unsure about where Lucha Libre related female wrestlers are in this this tournament. We have not heard much about any involvement from Ivelisse or Diamante, even though commentary did allude to that a few weeks ago during their match. I think we are still all fairly optimistic that they are not only going to be featured in the tournament, but that they're going to be partnered together. But a nice touch to this women's tournament was that they did have a special ring announcer. It looks like they'll be utilizing throughout the tournament, and it's Shaul Guerrero. And she, of course, daughter of Eddie Guerrero, and in her respective way, too, featured on was the women of wrestling.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have Shaul there. Her rich legacy, and then her enthusiasm when she's announcing. Like she's able to convey so much energy. It's a shame that there's not much of a crowd there, because she's always able to work up a crowd really well.
Yes, and I really admire her style. Kind of the richness and deepness of her voice is something even I try and emulate when I announce. I'm have no shame in that. I've watched a lot of her announcing and definitely have taken cues from it, because it is more of an edgier style, and I think that that's more important. I mean, you look at other ring announcers, I mean, especially females like Lillian Garcia, which at the time for WWE was really good and different. But I think the game changed when Melissa Santos came in to announce for Lucha Underground. And that just kind of flipped things over when it came to females announcing. So I feel like Melissa and Shaul have a very similar tone with the raspiness and kind of deeper tone and edginess, and that just is, to me, something I really enjoy. But as far as the tournament, too, you're right. If the crowd, the crowd would be feeding off of it, and I think it's just something really perfect for this tournament. So, again, we'll be bringing more news to you on the tournament as it comes along over the next few weeks. Right? So, speaking of Wednesday nights, we did have NXT this week, and we had a few interesting segments. So the first one that came was, again, from Karrion Kross, and sending a message to Keith Lee. Keith Lee had a match against Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes came out the week prior to challenge Keith Lee. He accepted, and this week they had a match. At the end of the match, after Keith Lee was successful in retaining the NXT Championship, we had the arena go pitch black. And Scarlett, the voice of Scarlett Bordeaux, came up and speaking in a foreign language I couldn't quite pick up. Some people were saying it was maybe some Eastern European language. I'm not entirely sure. But it was definitely intimidating and scary as all hell. And then the screen comes up and it's Karrion Kross mentioning that the match, the challenge that he has put out to Keith Lee for the NXT Championship has still not been made official by William Regal. So until it is, he's going to continue to lay waste. And then shortly after, you see backstage, several people just knocked out. Doesn't even look like they were wrestlers, just people knocked out. So Karrion Kross continuing to deliver messages to Keith Lee, and laying destruction everywhere he goes, and warning Keith Lee that tick tock, time is coming for him. Yes. We do know that next week Karrion Kross will be taking on Danny Burch in a match. But I was curious on both of your guys' opinions on how, again, they've been continuing to handle Karrion Kross and leading up to what we hopefully see at TakeOver 30. But Brendan, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts with the way that they've been presenting Karrion?
Well, I love that they're making him larger than life and scary as all get out. Like even just a mic spot of "I'm challenging you" is big on presentation with him, and it's super in his character and his wheelhouse to be the scary guy. I mean, he doesn't need all of the theatrics to have that intense stare and say I'm going to do something real bad. But by having that and then having his own persona, it really kind of makes this next tier And like even the most casual viewer is able to know this is a big deal, and they are definitely scared of what will happen when he meets up with Keith Lee. That being said, they can't drag this out too much longer. So I'm glad we're getting a match with Karrion Kross again next week against a big name performer. So like I fully expect he's going to win that one, and probably in fairly strong fashion. But I'm glad they're doing that as part of the build as well, instead of just relying on mic spots.
Dusty, what are your thoughts?
I love the way that they've presented Karrion Kross. I think that he may well be our next NXT World Heavyweight Champion. It's kind of an odd reference, but what it kind of reminds me of is like the Superman comics. When Superman died, there was Doomsday, and he kind of reminds me of Doomsday, like this guy that, you know, could take on anybody, even Superman. You know, like how do you defeat Karrion Kross? And I love that feel, that it doesn't have a corny feel like you would think, you know, that this guy that's unstoppable. It's so legitimate and so real and purposeful. And I love everything they've done with him. WWE, I mean, NXT has a reputation for being great. WWE, not always, but this is some of the best work they've done with a big monster-sized guy in a long time. And I'm really excited to see the development of his character. I think he's capable of more than just what we've seen so far even, but what they've given us has given us so much promise and opportunity for his character that I really do think this ends with him as world champion at NXT TakeOver 30.
Yeah. And I'm caught in between the two, because I wouldn't want Keith Lee to have such a short reign. I would like for him to have something a little bit more lengthy, but it just makes sense what they're doing with Karrion and the way that they're presenting him and the way that they really shut up this particular roster. And there's always money in the chase. So even if it does mean a back and forth with Keith Lee for a while, it's still, I don't think it would hurt Keith to lose the championship to Karrion. But I do think that Keith would benefit from a longer reign. So I'm very, very torn. But I agree with both of you. The presentation is solid. I mean, I just think that he is being presented as a true force and something different as well. Something very mysterious, but yet aggressive and scary. And all the best and craziest things about being a badass dude. So to me, I'm really liking this presentation, and it truly is a new time in NXT as well. There's new people on the rise. There's changes with championships. We are in a new era of NXT, and I do think that even though he's been in NXT for that long, he is kind of considered part of the old guard, and so every few years, we see the guards change, and I could absolutely see Karrion being part of the new guard for NXT. So another thing that happened this week, and this is definitely more of an interesting vignette that occurred, we did see Legado del Fantasma for the first time in about 2 weeks. And we didn't see them in a match, but we did see them doing what they do best, and that is kicking ass and taking names. So earlier in the night, they had kidnapped Fandango, was the person, and we didn't know what happened until later on that night, and they brought Fandango to the ring. The trio of Legado del Fantasma came, and Santos Escobar went on the mic to explain, why did they take Fandango, and in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful promo, explained how, Fandango and Tyler Breeze insulted the legacy and history of Lucha Libre at the Great American Bash. So they had to pay for what they did. And they were going to make an example out of them in front of everyone, so that everyone on the roster knew that they cannot mess with not only Lucha Libre, but the Legado del Fantasma. And Tyler Breeze came out to try and help his tag team partner, but he too was beaten up pretty badly. And then Santos Escobar specifically called out Isaiah Swerve Scott and told him to keep his name out of his mouth or else he would end up like the rest of them. And this awesome. This was just
so good.
Such a good promo. And you know,
gosh.
I love Tyler Breeze and Fandango, pero
me
eso
too,
es
but
like that's what happens. Eso es lo que pasa cuando no respeta la lucha. Like the fact that that got me going inside. But you don't disrespect the lucha. Everybody knows this.
100%.
Everybody knows this. I'm making it sound like it's insane.
I love the fact that that's actually where we're at now, because for the longest time in the American product, Lucha Libre was kind of the on the joking side of things.
Part of the comedy.
And generally speaking, it was not treated as a significant version of the art that is wrestling. And so I've loved this since they started it, but I like that there was follow through on it. Like we got that comedy entrance, which was, I mean, I laughed. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed when they did it. But I like that we still got that as part of the build of, no, you need to respect us and you need to respect where we come from. It's not just us, it's our heritage. And I like that receipt was there for that. And that just made that so much more thrilling for me to watch.
Yeah, I really love this. And again, the presence, I don't know too what it is about the color scheme, because when they came into the ring to do this promo, they did have their logo and visual in the background, and the gold and purple that they have in the logos just blend so well with the current layout of Full Sail. With the Performance Center. I'm sorry, not really the Performance Center with, the yellow robes and the black background and pretty much, most of it being pretty dark. Like, it just makes everything pop. Santos Escobar had a poppin' jacket. I think Brian Fame, would be proud of him with that gold jacket.
I loved everything about their presentation last night. Like that.
And it too. I know we didn't talk about it much, but earlier this week we saw Monday Night Raw. Raw Underground was presented as this kind of dark, somewhat mysterious, I guess. I don't know. An underground of somewhere where there's, shoot fighting and whatnot. At the end of Monday Night Raw, we saw the Hurt Business kind of take over this trio. And I get where they're trying to go with Raw Underground, being a little bit more cinematic and TV-based with, you have factions that come, or in this case, the Hurt Business taking over Raw Underground. I could absolutely see Legado del Fantasma showing up on Raw Underground to, start something. Like, I just... As much as I don't think that interaction would happen, the trio themselves have set themselves up so good that they would fit well in Raw Underground. And I think I would even love a story between the Hurt Business and Legado del Fantasma. Even though, again, it won't happen.
I hadn't even thought of that, but I want it so bad now.
Right. It literally then feels like a TV show more than a wrestling. And that's okay now, because we live in a world where, the world of professional wrestling has changed so much and the product has changed so much over the past 5 months. And it may, longer term, where companies like WWE have to look at providing more entertainment content, or how do they keep the idea of wrestling fresh? And when you have two groups that are all very business oriented, but very dominant, very driven in their goals and wanting to be taken seriously, if you put an area like Raw Underground together, I could see this faction fighting, and it's like Lords of the Underworld, and I'm for that 100%. Who knows? Obviously WWE listens to this show, so we'll since they do, we're just going to throw that out there. Put the Hurt Business and Legado del Fantasma at Raw Underground. Have them, recruit fighters and have it out. It's all about. Yes, and anyways, I just very big fan of the promo last week. I'm sure we'll continue to see their promos again, and overall, really good work. And I think the consensus too. I think as Dusty mentioned, the fact that there was, follow through and the understanding of, this is more, and I think actually Brendan talked about this as well. It's more about this legacy and history of lucha libre and the disrespect to that now things are coming full circle, that this is what they started as a faction about, and now they're following through with anyone who shows that disrespect. So I think it's fantastic, and pero no siento mal por ellos. Like, as soon as they did that, I was like, oh, it was not good. Look, I have two things I learned. Do not mess with someone's wawa, and do not disrespect lucha libre. If that's what you learn this week, learn it.
They're related things too, because to the point I made with the van, that's family, and that's we do this all the time when we're talking about lucha libre. The tradition is much more family oriented. It's families at the shows. It's families that are performers. So and in that culture, you do not mess with family. That is just the line that you don't cross. And we're seeing examples of it in storytelling that I love. So yeah, I'm all about all of this.
So in other news, promotion that we haven't talked about in a while is MLW. We haven't seen a lot of new content from them. We do still have the anthology series that they're putting out regularly, as well as MLW Underground, which is previous matches from their show MLW Underground. And I wanted to bring up this week's MLW Underground episode because there's two fantastic Lucha Libre matches on there that we highly recommend you check out. One of them was part of the anthology series with LA Park. On that, they did show a match between him and, no, not LA Park, La Parka. My apologies.
Right. Well, he's LA Park now.
LA Park. And at the time, it was La Parka.
But he was La Parka then. Yeah.
He was La Parka then.
It's that confusing thing.
There's that thing. So it was La Parka versus Shocker, which was part of the anthology. So you can watch it again on this episode of Underground. But the first match actually was a really fun one, Super Fuego Guerrero, and very fast-paced, like very it was a really, really good match, and the crowd was super hot for it. That's one thing I'm really enjoying about MLW.
They really were. They have the hottest crowds in these early episodes.
They have the hottest crowds and such a good, strong appreciation for Lucha Libre. And in general, for them, we talked about it previously too, really putting an emphasis on LA Park merch, and that being fairly successful for them, and really highlighting how MLW has really incorporated Lucha Libre for a very long time.
They really have.
And I hope you more in the anthology. In the Underground episodes. They are also following the story of Raven versus Vampiro. That was a storyline for them as well. So I'm sure we're going to see that matchup later on.
So excited for
Underground.
That one.
Yes. So if you are looking for some lucha content and you haven't seen MLW Underground, I highly recommend. But MLW also was in the news this week as well, actually July 30th, on their edition of Pulp Fusion. There was a comment that was made in one of the vignettes that seemed to have taken the internet by storm. And I'm going to set it up and then take it over to Brendan because I know he has probably more information about this, but I'm going to set it up. During Pulp Fusion, Selena De La Renta was on the phone and made a comment about alluding to, AAA possibly buying out CMLL. And when you're watching Pulp Fusion, it's a mix of these different vignettes coming together, and you usually see Selena De La Renta being, a boss lady on the phone, cussing people out, all the good things. But this particular comment that she made really ended up, getting a lot of people talking. So, Brendan, can you kind of share more about how this was maybe turned in from an ant to like a mountain, an anthill, little molehill into a mountain?
I can speak for Brendan, I guess, or he can elaborate on it when he comes back. Yeah. But it really was. It was just kind of a throwaway comment, but it really gained a lot of traction, and I'm not sure how. Like, it was such a. I mean, almost everything in Pulp Fusion is in kayfabe, and so the fact that it got legs of its own and really took off was interesting, and I think that it speaks not so much to CMLL, but the larger power vacuum and Lucha Libre right now, with just the lack of shows happening and nobody knows what's happening. So almost any rumor can take a hold and grab traction.
That's a really good point.
So I agree with the rumor mill in Mexico, as we started, is crazier anyway. There's been tales, there was jokes about people having to convince newscasters not run with stories about Rey Mysterio now only having one eye in previous weeks. So, and the way that this one kind of spiraled was fantastic too, because it started with AAA is offering to buy companies, and somebody said, well, if they're willing to buy MLW, maybe they're going to buy CMLL, and that took on giant life of its own, where suddenly that was all the talk, like what happens if there's a fusion of the two, and what would a Mexico look like with the two companies merged as one, and it would have
AAA control of Arena Mexico, and
and that bled into this super show talk that was when maybe we'll have again. So like it really, news cycles ran with it, and then obviously it captured the imaginations of the people, because it was all over social media as well. Like, it was the people that knew were rolling their eyes and wondering, well, what the heck had happened to create all this insanity. But the other side, there were people that were just running with that. Published stories were written on some of these word programs. I didn't back around more because, unfortunately, I was having some problems. I had a note about the fact that we're underground right now, and we have underground, and also are coming to so it was very interesting to me to see the underground performer on this episode of Underground.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah, that was interesting. And he was Amazing Red, wasn't he? Like, that was his.
That might have been Amazing Red. I was thinking of Vampiro when I made that initial note.
Oh,
but
sorry,
yeah.
I was sidetracked. Fuego Guerrero was Amazing Red.
That, I mean, now that you say that sounds right. But
sorry, I was sidetracked.
Looking at the other person from Lucha Underground. Yeah, so, I mean, and MLW continuing to provide really good content with both Underground and Pulp Fusion. I'm curious if they're going to take this. I'm sure they realize that they got some traction of news from this. This week's Pulp Fusion didn't have a lot more to it. And I know that they pre-tape a lot of these, so maybe, they didn't realize how much publicity Selena's comment was going to make. But, the fact that they did have this, I hope that they, tend to play around with it a little bit more, because, I mean, the fact that just one, thing that was said for a brief, 20 seconds got circulated all over, to Mexico and the world of Lucha Libre shows some of the weight that MLW has and how it's taken fairly seriously as a wrestling promotion. So I would love to see them throw in those Easter eggs more in the future. And again, Underground's going to continue to have some great content for fans to watch, and they looks like they are going to be addressing the Raven Vampiro feud from years ago, and I'm sure include lots of other great Lucha Libre content. So make sure you are checking out MLW on YouTube. But Brendan, I know you could tell us more about luchacentral.com.
Absolutely. Hey guys, if you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is an online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events will be happening in your area. Have shows. Find photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place that voices heard. We play annual awards. See Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And above all this, it's free. Just Central.com, your centralized place.
Thank you so much. That is luchacentral.com. And also, what you can find on luchacentral.com is This Week in Lucha Libre History.
You can't remember when. Well, now you can say it's time for This Week in Lucha Libre.
That's right. It's time for This Week in Lucha History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera for information, birth dates, anniversaries, amazing videos, and a match of the day, all Lucha Libre centered. That's luchalibre.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. This week I chose 1998. There was a great match at Road Wild between Juventud Guerrero and Chris Jericho at the Road Wild pay-per-view at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in Sturgis, South Dakota. Dean Malenko was the referee for this match, feuding with the arrogant silk robe and top ponytail wearing heel Chris Jericho. And the opponent was Juventud. No mask for Juventud. This was really the beginning of the Chris Jericho we see today. He had a little less of the charisma that he has now, but a little more youthful enthusiasm to make up for it. However, if you're going to check out the pay-per-view, there was a 20-minute match between Rey Mysterio and Psychosis earlier on the card that was amazing. Easily the best match on the card for my money. And because of the time it was given, this match was great. The crowd was really hot for it. You might not necessarily expect that at a motorcycle rally, especially since it was a free show, that they would be really into the Lucha Libre, but they were so hot for this match. They were hot for all the matches, but this one was really Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio. That's the one to check out. The whole show's great. It's amazing to see Juventud win the title, but that match is far and away the match of the show for me. What did you pick this week, Miranda?
So this week I picked August 9th, 2015. I know we mentioned earlier that it is Triple Mania season. This is usually the time of year that this occurs. And sure enough, back in 2015, we had Triple Mania 18, and the match that I picked was actually the AAA World Trios Championship match against Los Hell Brothers, against Phoenix, Jack Evans, and Angelico versus El Hijo del Fantasma, Pentagon Jr., and Tejano Jr. This was a three-way match. Oh, man. So the match itself wasn't very long. Half of it was just the intros because there was individual intros for Phoenix, Jack Evans, and Angelico, individual introductions for Hijo del Fantasma, Pentagon, and Tejano, and then Los Hell Brothers, which is Cybernetico, Averno, and Chessman. They came out together, but there was a lot of individual intros, so a third of it was just the intros. But it was also a cage match in which the titles were hanging from the ceiling of it, but there wasn't a full ceiling. It was kind of just more this bar. So imagine like a cage match crossed with like an X Division or what was it? Not X Division, but it was to be the matches that they used to have at Impact with the two.
Oh yeah,
with the dome over the top. But
where the belts would be hanging, there would be an X.
Yeah,
Ultimate X. The Ultimate X. Yeah. So it's almost like an Ultimate X cage match. And this, talking about tags, this was a true Lucha Libre tag match. There's no tags at all. Everyone was in the ring at all times, all together. And the only way you could win was to get up to the ceiling of it, or where the bars were top, and retrieve the belt. So, I mean, Jack Evans and Angelico, especially in this match, I mean, they were the MVP high flyers of this match. I mean, it was just chaos all over the place. But it was very fun to watch. Just so much going on, too. It was very hard to keep your attention because, again, there was no tags. There was even no ref inside the ring. It was everyone doing their own thing. Lots of fun, high-flying spots. And yes, I was very glad that maybe subliminally I picked this because of Jack Evans making his return on Dynamite. This was a very fun match to see him and Angelico in. So if you don't have a lot of time and you want to see a chaotic trios match, this is the one you should check out.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's fast and fast paced, and like with the exception of Hell Brothers, everybody sounds super fast. Like they only move regular fast, so it's still fast.
Yeah, and
regular
again,
fast is still like
you also
faster
had
than me.
to climb up to the top to get to this bar where the trio championship were hung. So no ladder. You had to just climb up, and it was almost like, American Ninja Warrior style. So that, again, I think that's where Jack Evans and Angelico shined, and they were up there more than anybody. But, of course, that also led to their downfall because then they'd have to jump from there or get knocked down from there, and that seems to be a hard fall down. So it's a crazy fun match. Brendan, what did you choose for this week?
The big. So this week I just learned 20 years, like a decade ago. Wagner dominated by the entrance at the start. This one did go long. You had Crane and then the screen between the two of them at the kind of in frame while you're watching. Dr. Wagner had this match. He would, in addition to shaving his head, he would, and so then you have brawl, which is I think the bloodiest brawl I've seen on a. It was Blue Demon blood by the end of it, and so was Wagner. Finish was Blue Demon hitting Dr. Wagner with a giant brick of concrete. That wasn't about.
Wow.
Like it almost felt anticlimactic. That was introduced, and they were hammering. But that was, Blue Demon finds a brick of concrete, hits Wagner, it explodes. So I mean, clearly they knew what they were going to do, and then the pinfall happens, and gets his hair cut, and proceeded to wrestle 6. Lucha retirements. What can you say?
Right. They never quite stick.
I saw this one live as it happened, and then I watched like 3 or 4 times. And I'm not a fan of the blood in this match, but it really is the gritty brawl that these two hit each other with, so it kind of added something. It's just that I spent a lot of time squinting and not watching. If you've ever seen like somebody obviously uncomfortable at a horror movie, it felt like that, where like I want to see this, I'm fascinated, but at the same time I'm feeling squeamish and I don't want to see what I agree. Match have lots of. We'll probably have matches next week. Maybe all 3 of us will triple match.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah,
Triple Mania.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very likely because we're in season, and if you see more of this week in Lucha Libre history, you'll definitely see more matches being featured. And Yes, let us know what your favorite day and moment this week in Lucha Libre history is. You can go to luchacentral.com under the history category and find information on each and every day. There's lots of great matches, but also special events, debuts, deaths, anniversaries that you can check out. Also, there's clips to many of these matches that are available through Lucha Central and the Lucha Central YouTube page. So make sure to check them out and let us know on social media what your favorite day in Lucha Libre history is.
Yeah,
and
let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're always interested in seeing what everyone else has to think. So now a quick commercial from one of our partners, thechairshot.com.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always your head.
All right. So as we get towards the end of this episode, a few other news items. First off, Impact Wrestling is presenting a 2-week event called Emergence, happening in a few weeks on Tuesday, August 18th and Tuesday, August 25th. Impact Wrestling Emergence takes over on Access TV. It's a 2-week special event. So now we do have something in between now and Bound for Glory in October. No we do have a match announcement. I was going to say no big match announcements, but one is pretty big so far. We do have the rematch for the Impact Women's Knockouts Division Championship match. Deonna Purrazzo will be facing Jordan Grace. Jordan will be getting her rematch at Emergence, so we'll see who comes out victorious. I'm sure we'll be getting more match announcements. We will see what that means for the residents of Wrestle House, which is where Taya Valkyrie is currently being held. We haven't seen her outside of Wrestle House in a few weeks. So for all of you Taya fans, good news. You could see her every week. And good news if you like Wrestle House, because I think it's funny. I'm a big fan.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. It's funny. So you could see Taya there, and we may see her at Emergence. Same thing with other kind of Lucha Libre known Impact associates like Willie Mack. He's been kind of out since losing the X Division Championship to Chris Bay. And so Willie Mack did make an appearance this week on Impact talking about his good friend Rich Swann, but we haven't seen him in the ring. So hopefully we see him in the ring soon. But keep an eye out for Impact Emergence happening on August 18th and August 25th. And our final story of the day is actually a pretty fun story that involves you, the listener, where you can do something really cool and possibly win something awesome. Dustin, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah. So recently when the COVID-19 pandemic hit and Pro Wrestling Revolution had to cancel their shows and temporarily shut the doors to the PWR Training Academy, owner-operators Gabriel and Shannon Ramirez were pretty quick to pivot their business into working with their regular Lucha Libre mask and gear maker in Guadalajara to start creating some PPE-style face masks. And unlike all the other masks on the market at the time, these masks were actually made of actual Lucha Libre mask materials. They had the right Lycra with the crushed ice material, everything just perfect. And they were all officially licensed by the Luchador. At first, the site only featured like PWR Luchadors and also a lot of homegrown talents from the PWR Academy and the PWR World Champion, the legendary Ultimo Dragon. Pretty quickly, Gabriel got together with Kevin from Mask Republic, and they started working, and they started offering officially licensed masks to the Lucha stars from Legends of Lucha Libre. And so that's when you started to see people like Penta Zero M, Bray Phoenix, Conan, Mascarita Dorada. Ramirez wasn't done yet. Despite having over 40 licensed masks, and most of them selling out just as soon as they come in and then restock just as fast as they can get more sewn up, he decided to debut a new contest. And the next mask could be designed by you. It's a fan art contest, which will see one completely original fan-designed mask get turned into a lucha-style PPE mask. And then the designer of that mask will actually get royalties for each mask sold. Yeah, so submission forms and entry rules will be available at luchacentral.com beginning Wednesday, August the 5th. Submissions will be accepted until Monday, August the 10th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time. Staff from luchamasks.com and luchacentral.com will select the finalists, which will then be placed to a fan vote, which will start on luchacentral.com on Wednesday, August the 12th. You will have 6 days to vote until Monday, August the 17th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time, and the winner will be announced on Wednesday, August 19th. The winner will then get to see their mask go from concept to completion, just as the authentic, officially licensed masks currently on the site have done. So this is a really exciting opportunity for luchadors out there. Try to get your mask out. Designers, artists, lots of people. There's lots of opportunity. It could be you. So head on over to luchacentral.com and check that out.
Yeah, that's all very cool. I want to point out that the royalties thing, in addition to a fun way for you to make a little bit of money, that is how they're paying the other luchadors who have masks that are licensed there. So that's you basically in the same stratosphere as El Santo, Blue Demon, some of these other people.
Hayabusa, LA Park. Cain Velasquez, who we've mentioned on the show. He has a charity mask on the shop. All the proceeds go to Second Harvest to Silicon Valley. Yeah. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that they do.
They do a lot of cool, and that point, that puts you in the same tier as them. So it's the one time in your life you can absolutely say you are a peer to somebody that is of absolutely legendary status. So, I mean, enter it. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm going to enter one that's just basically a question mark because, the whole thing. So
yeah, I've got an idea I'm going to submit too.
I don't have an idea, but I will pay someone to draw something for me, and then I'll take credit for it.
That works too. There are artists that would be more than willing to do that as long as they get some level of acknowledgement, like maybe financial compensation at the beginning of the design process.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Don't get really compensated to a point, They know what this will be. But no,
it's up for my artist friends.
Yes, no, it's a great, especially if you are an artist or a fan of lucha libre, or just a fan of art, wanting to put your creativity to something that is going to be going under mass distribution. It's truly an opportunity that comes very rarely. So we highly recommend that anyone enter luchacentral.com for more information. The timeline is tight, so just make sure to seize this opportunity before it goes away. We don't know if they'll continue these types of contests in the future. So think of this as your one shot. You may not get another.
Yeah, definitely. And this would be a great chance for a designer, somebody that wants to work in Lucha Libre, try to get their foot in the door. This would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rub shoulders with some of those big names in an official capacity.
Yes, it's just a very cool opportunity. So a big thank you to luchacentral.com, Mask Republic, and lucha-mask.com for everyone partnering together for this opportunity. And again, the deadlines are pretty tight, so make sure you take advantage of this, and you can go to luchacentral.com for more information and full details of this contest. And with that, we've reached another episode. We've reached the end of this week's Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Don't forget, you can go to luchacentral.com for all of your latest Lucha Libre news and reviews. All of the events we talked about with AEW, WWE, NXT, those shows have weekly reviews and summaries on luchacentral.com. Of course, this day in Lucha Libre history is also available every single day. Lots of cool and fun interviews. Of course, Denise Salcedo has some great interviews that she has on the Lucha Central YouTube channel that posts, and of course all of the fantastic podcasts on the Lucha Central Podcast Network. So really lots of amazing content for all of you. Don't forget to follow Lucha Central on social media as well, on Facebook and Instagram at Lucha Central, and on Twitter at LuchaCentralCom. And, of course, as we mentioned, the YouTube channel has interviews and great matches for everyone to view. And, of course, you can follow us on social media. Dusty, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, and I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy.
And, Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am on Instagram, kind of. And 321 T-shirt guy on both of those. I'm very, very active on Twitter, wherein I am currently taking press from King Serpentico.
That's world champion King Serpentico.
Yeah,
right.
Officially,
Snake Man,
yes.
world champion, yeah.
That Brendan is our Twitter guy. He gets all of our information news on Twitter. He reps us on Twitter. So a big thank you, 321 T-shirt guy, for anyone who wants to follow 100%. That. He may reach out to you if you are in the world of Lucha Libre. You may have one Brendan Barr reach out to you. Just because we are, part of the news. We're journalists. We try and get our facts right. So, if you have stories to share them with Brendan on Twitter, because he's the news source for us.
A news source. A news.
Yes. So we vet properly. However, he also got the exclusive Serpentico news of the night. So How many of y'all get that? Not very many. That's why you listen to Lucha Central Weekly for that.
Straight from the snake's mouth.
Mm-hmm. And me, Miranda Morales, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at the #Miranda, spelled out. Make sure to follow all of us on social media. Let us know your thoughts on the show if you're enjoying it. I want to give a special shout out to someone who reached out to me earlier this week, Johnny Trejo. He sent me a message thanking us for what we do on the show every week. And he says he's still thinking of a name for your 3-person tag team, or trios tag name. So, again, we are still looking for name recommendations. Appreciate Johnny reaching out and letting us know. Johnny, get on it. We want to get some more ideas. So I'm not pressuring you too much. But now you put it out there. I hope by the end of this week you have at least one name that we can consider, and let us know. Thank you for everyone who listens. Let us know on social media. You never know, we can give you a shout out at the end of the show, because we do appreciate all of the listeners, the people who take time out of their week to listen to the show. We greatly appreciate it. We love you guys. So make sure to let us know. And you never know, you could get a shout out at the end of this show.
I have a special for this week too. So for any of the listeners that want to correspond with us, while we may need T-shirt names, we mentioned several times this is Triple Mania season. So talk to us for Triple Mania, or if you haven't seen a Triple Mania, tell us how much you're looking forward to having a Triple Mania moment.
Very good. Yes. So let us know on social media, what is your favorite Triple Mania?
Let us know.
Either favorite Triple Mania of all time, favorite Triple Mania match. And again, a lot of that is available on Lucha Central's YouTube page. So if you have not watched a Triple Mania before, or it's been a while, go to Lucha Central's YouTube page and you can find lots of great content. But yes, let us know on social media your favorite Triple Mania match or Triple Mania show. And with that, we thank you all for listening again. Don't destroy any cars, and make sure you respect Lucha Libre. For Brendan Barr and Dusty Murphy, I'm Miranda Morales. Thank you, and we'll be back here next week. We hope to talk to you then.